Ladies and gentlemen, please remain standing for the entrance of colors to be led by the UST Golden Corps of Cadets.
Heritage. Therefore, this advocacy forum, entitled Understanding the Terrains of Social Development, serves as an icing to the cake for you graduating senior students. This forum aims to promote the welfare and well-being of the community by fostering youth empowerment among you, my dear students. As Jose Rizal said, and I quote, "Ang kabataan, ang pag-asa ng ating bayan. Hindi pwedeng kayong mga kabataan ay nabubuhay lamang para sa inyong makasarili. Each one of you, remember, is a member of a family, a member of a community, and most of all, a citizen of our Republic of the Philippines and the world in general. You must do your part. Take responsibility and accountability to be a responsible Filipino citizen. The future of the Philippines rests in your hands on what you will do for your country in the years to come. Indeed, I can think of any person better to give this lecture than our distinguished guest for today. Our distinguished guest is a woman of great substance, and I might say strength and courage. Fearless against all odds and adversities, especially if it threatens our beloved country, ang Pilipinas, ang ating inang bayan. Let us give a round of applause. And let us all welcome Maria, Leonor, Gerona, Robredo.
Kasabi naman sa group chat ng and group chat ng mga director na power share dun sa latest na post ng
Thank you very much. Can you take your seats? Dr. Susan Maravilla, the Dean of the UST College of Nursing. Dr. Mark Anthony Abinir, Director of the UST Simbahayan Community Development Office. Assistant Professor Maria Victoria Mongar, the overall chair and coordinator of the UST College of Nursing Community Development Office, UST administrators, faculty, and staff, my dear students, honored guests, magandang umaga sa inyo lahat. Good morning. Naantok pa yata kayo. I was telling Dr. Abinir that this is my 4th time this year to be here in UST. The first time was with the College of Business Administration. The second time was with the Senior High School Department. The third time was with the Department of Mass Communication. And this is the 4th. UST College of Nursing. Sabi ko nga, halata na yata kalat kaya ko. Kahit saan ako inaaya pumupunta. But it is always good to be back here at the University of Santo Tomas. Whenever I get the chance to be with very young people like you, I am reminded that there are still so many reasons to hope in these dark times. Aspiring nurses who want to deepen discussions about social empowerment on top of all the medical concepts that you need to remember, show me there is hope for real and transformative change for our country. So thank you very much for organizing this event and for having me again today. Many decades ago, Filipino nurses became in demand all over the world. Our distinct warmth, our ability to work in the most difficult of circumstances, skill in dealing with different nationalities, and excellence in the call of duty caught the attention of other countries. People find us working in hospitals, in clinics, in war zones, in remote and very poor communities, on ships, and different types of health centers in all parts of the globe. In fact, I have a sister who is a nurse in the US, and I am amazed at the dedication required to do her job. Yung kapatid ko has been in the US, I think 30 years. Hanggang ngayon, night duty pa din siya. Mula nung pumunta siya, hanggang ngayon. And I have been telling her, mag-day job ka lang kasi yung mga anak niya tapos na. Sanay na daw siyang gising sa umaga. Imagine how many patients worldwide have been nursed to health by Filipino hands. And I would like to think that these are all due to the fact that the Filipino touch is a touch of empathy. Something that we desperately need in these times. Empathy is basic, but it is something that cannot be taught and cannot be rushed. It can only be learned when we immerse ourselves in the difficulties being faced by the people we want to serve. Before I joined politics, I worked as a human rights lawyer and was involved in an NGO called Sentro ng Alternatibong Lingap Panigan or Saligan. We worked with farmers and fisherfolk, indigenous people, urban poor, abused women and children, and laborers. We would travel to far-flung communities and provide assistance to those who did not have access, even to the most basic government services. Often, we would end up spending the night in fishing boats in coastal communities and makeshift huts in the middle of rice paddies because we did not have any place to stay. We taught the people their rights under the law, translated laws to the local dialect for them to be easily understood so that they can fight for their rights without having to depend on lawyers all the time. Our work was not easy, but it was very fulfilling because we saw firsthand how lives can be transformed. Doing the work that we left and to preserve his legacy. There was a lot of hesitation on my part at first, kasi ayokong iwan yung dati kong trabaho. But then I realized that I can still continue with what I was doing when I was still in Saligan, even if I was already wearing a different hat. Because of the work that I have been doing before, I knew it was critical to visit constituents regularly, especially those who are in the farthest barangays and the poorest communities, because they are the ones who needed help the most. For a politician, that may not make sense. None of these communities would have enough votes to sway any chance for the next elections. And it would be too time-consuming to visit because of their distance and inaccessibility. Naalala ko po yung mga katabi kong distrito. Sinasabihan ako ng mga politiko na nagsasayang ka ng oras. Nauubos yung araw mo aakyat sa bundok. Pagdating mo doon, iilan lang naman yung tao. Hindi ka nila kayang panalunin. If you try to observe the ways of traditional politicians, they concentrate helping barangays who have the most number of people or the most number of voters. But for me, it made perfect sense. The biggest sign of a society's strength is how we treat those who are weak and would otherwise be easily forgotten, and those who would never give us back anything in return. As we trudged through mountain trails and rice paddies to visit far-flung communities, I felt my purpose. Those regular visits, in fact, were the best part of my life in Congress. When I first assumed my post as Congresswoman, one of the first things I wanted to do was start a holistic nutrition program in one of the municipalities in my district with the highest malnutrition rate. To start the program, I asked for their baseline data for reference. Pero sabi nila wala daw silang baseline data. But they told me they already had an existing nutrition program. So inisip ko lang, paano may nagka-nutrition program na walang data? When I asked for what they have accomplished so far, they gave me a report which claims as an accomplishment the 600 children they have been feeding regularly. There was never an attempt to measure improvements after the feeding. Talagang ano lang, the act of feeding was the accomplishment itself, and it should not be, because the act of feeding is supposed to be a means to achieve the accomplishment. So I asked the barangay nutrition scholars, sila yung assigned doon, of each barangay to start by measuring the height and weight of the children. Oo naman sila, yes ma'am, isusukat po namin. Tapos maya-maya, I was shocked because they were already requesting from me bathroom weighing scales and tape measure. Yung tape measure na sinusukat ng modista. Sabi ko, anong gagawin niya doon? Apparently, that's what they intended to use because for many years, they had no height boards and salter weighing scales, which were more appropriate. So sabi ko, kawawa naman kayo. Kaya pala ang taas na malnutrition rate. Sabi ko, sige, iyahanap ko kayo, give me 1 week. So I went to the Department of Health Regional Office in Bicol to inquire where we could request or get height boards and weighing scales. And lo and behold, there was a warehouse full of them waiting to be distributed. Andun lang pala. The regional director told me that they've been there for some time, but no one was requesting for them. So nakita niyo na. At ilang taon pinagtiisan na wala, yun pala, ilang taon din nakatiwangwang yung mga kailangan nila. Hindi lang nag-uusap yung dalawa. So sometimes, the solutions to many of our problems are in fact right under our noses. Most of the time, they are simple and not hard to find. We only need an open mind, a compassionate heart, hands and feet that are willing to do the work, and the determination to show up for the most defining moments of our lives. And let me stress this part. Sometimes, it is truly as simple as showing up for something that later on will prove life-changing. So as we sought to serve the farthest and poorest municipalities, we started to look for the intersect between what communities needed the most and what could be addressed by simply coordinating government programs better. Meron namang programa, pero hindi lang nag-uusap-usap yung mga dapat mag-usap. There was indeed massive malnutrition and stunting in our poorest barangays, where children found it very hard to learn how to read and do math because they often went to school on empty stomachs. Surprisingly, most of them already had existing programs. Pag tinignan mo lahat, LGUs lahat may feeding programs. But they were not results-oriented. Lahat ang bilang, ilan yung pinapakain. Pero hindi pinag-uusapan, hindi sinusukat, ilan ba yung gumagaling.
It is such a waste of government funds if your measure for success is the number of children fed instead of the number of children who were lifted out of malnutrition. Or in the case of medical missions, the number of patients served instead of the number of patients who got well. Kasi pag tinignan natin yung mga LGU, mga barangay, lahat yan may medical mission. Di ba? Pag tinignan mo, what's the accomplishment after the medical mission, you will see so many thousands of patients that were checked up. Pero walang nakalagay, ilang sakit kaya yung na-prevent. Ilang pasyente kaya yung gumaling, walang ganon. So we introduced a new system where all children, all malnourished children were first regularly examined and monitored, and second, provided with hot meals regularly, first for an initial 6 months period, subject to reassessment. This way, we have baselines to effectively assess if the program was successful or not. We expanded the program to include not just children in daycare centers and schools, but also pregnant women, infants, and toddlers, so that the intervention will be timely. Kasi karamihan sa mga barangay, merong feeding, pero sa mga daycare centers, saka sa mga public schools. But when they enter the daycare center, they would be about 4 or 5 years old already. And by that time, it would have been too late to intervene. We also created partnerships with schools, the Department of Social Welfare and Development, and the Department of Agrarian Reform, so that the ingredients for those feeding programs were bought from the poor farmers in the area. So instead na binibili namin yung ingredients sa mga well-established grocery stores, binibili namin siya straight from the source. Pero ang requirement namin dapat yung farmer mahirap na mahirap. This way, we could address poverty and hunger at the same time. Kasi alam naman natin, di ba? Malnutrition cannot be solved by feeding alone. Hanggang mahirap pa yan yung propensity na bumalik sa pagiging malnourished yung bata nandoon. And this is actually an adaptation of Brazil's Zero Hunger Program, which erased Brazil from the global hunger map. We call the project Partnerships Against Hunger and Poverty. The results of this program were life-changing for people on the ground. In many areas, we saw rising prosperity among the poor farmers, as well as happier and better-fed children in schools. When we started, the farmers under the program earned an average of 1,800 pesos a month only. Yun yung kanilang gross income. Now they are earning a lot more. More importantly, these farmers are also the parents of the children who are malnourished and have contributed to the sustainability of the program. Now, the children eat better in school as well as at home.
May mga nanonood kanina.
We also started a senior wellness program by gathering the health profiles of our indigent elderly constituents so that we will know what type of medical intervention and healthcare would be most beneficial for them. This has never been done before in my district, but it was critical for the success of our program. We refuse to do one-time medical missions because they are never sustainable. So you can imagine how many of our aged citizens languished in poor health, many of them not having any access to the health care that they needed. We brought medical specialists and devised an inventory system where they can access free treatment and medicines from the nearest rural health centers. At first, the barangay officials were complaining that the RHUs, the rural health centers, never have available medicines at hand. So, bumalik ako sa DOH. When I approached DOH about it, and I was starting to complain, nagko-complain din sila. And they were telling me that they were sending medicines regularly. But most of what they were sending were being thrown away because they expired without being consumed. So pareho may reklamo, di ba? Sabi ng barangay, walang gamot. Sabi ng RHU, ang dami gamot, tinatapon. After investigation, we discovered that the problem was there was no proper coordination between the stakeholders so that the medicines being sent were not the ones that they needed. Before I finished my term, nagka-arreglo din sila. We were able to devise a system where the medicines that DOH sends to the RHUs were the ones that they request based on the data from the inventory that we needed. For the first time, yung mga matatanda, kahit mga kagaya ko, na kailangan ng maintenance medicine, nakakainom na. Because before, may maintenance medicine, iinom sila ng 3 araw kasi yun yung kayang pambili. After that, wala na ulit. That way, indigent patients were already able to take their regular maintenance medicines because they could already get them for free from their rural health centers. Isa pang nakita namin, when we were doing the check-ups by the medical specialists, ang daming pumupunta doon na paralyzed na. And most of them were stroke victims. Ang iba, bata pa. But when you ask each one of them, halos 100% never na nakapag-undergo ng rehab services. Kasi mahal. So we did another program, and we called it a community rehabilitation program, where we did a sort of trainers training. We did a partnership with the local Association of Rehab Doctors and the local Association of PTs. And then we did a trainers training where the rehab doctors and PTs trained barangay health workers. And the barangay health workers in turn trained the caregivers of those patients who needed rehabilitation services. Parang ganun din lang kasimple. Tinatanong namin before, ano yung ginagawa ng LGU sa mga kasong ganito? Sasabihin, ma'am, pag pumunta kami sa munisipyo, binibigyan naman kami ni Mayor ng pamparehab. Pag nagbigay ka ng 300 pesos, ilang sessions ba yun? Baka isa, dalawa, dun sa amin, kasi mura, dito sa Manila. Baka pamasahe pa lang, diba? Nagparehab kang one time, hindi naman ramdam, diba? Pero that's the difference between sympathy and empathy. Kasi with sympathy, pumunta sa'yo, maaawa ka, magbibigay ka. Pero that's the end of it. But if it's empathy, you really look for means kung iisipin mo, ilan pa kaya yung kagaya niya? Ano kaya yung pwede kong gawin para matulungan ko yung mga kagaya niya in a more sustainable way? So given our fast-growing population, the challenges of improving health services becomes even more urgent every day. For millions of Filipinos, access to quality healthcare and services remain an elusive dream. Around 6 of 10 Filipinos die without ever seeing a health professional because of poverty. A big number of our countrymen remain at risk. They are vulnerable to sickness, accidents, and calamities with no immediate medical facilities to address their needs. Oftentimes, people from far-flung areas need to travel for long hours to the next town just to get to a hospital. These hospitals sometimes do not have basic medical equipment, health clinics, ambulances, and are often undermanned or lack training. Nurses are overworked and underpaid. The same with barangay health workers, some of whom may even be working for free, and sometimes they are the only medical practitioners in the community. Marami pong barangay sa mga malalayo, hindi naman inaabot ng doktor. Ang pinaka-doktor na nila yung BHW, barangay health workers. At ang BHW, kung mahirap yung barangay, wala din kahit allowance, sariling pera. And yung mga BHW, karamihan, mahihirap din. So the sacrifice, pero mga bayani, the sacrifices they have to undergo just to serve their constituents. So the office of the Vice President, siguro alam niyo naman, has one of the smallest budgets in the entire bureaucracy. And we do not even have the mandate to create and carry out programs. Pag tinignan niyo yung aming budget, halos operations lang sa kapagsweldo and ceremonial functions, but there is none for programs. And over the years, our office has been regarded as a spare tire and is expected to perform merely ceremonial work. But I felt it would be a big disservice to our people if the only things that we did for 6 years were ceremonial duties. So we found a way to disrupt and innovate to help our countrymen. We created a program we now call Angat Buhay. By forging partnerships with the private sector and other development organizations to reach out to the poorest, farthest, and smallest communities where many still do not have access to healthcare, education, livelihood, nutrition, housing, and so on. Alam niyo, dahil wala kaming budget, kailangan kami maging creative. So with Angat Buhay, we have positioned our office to be sort of a conduit between communities needing help and individuals and organizations wanting to help. Para kaming ahente. So kami yung taga-pair sa kanilang dala. Parang speed dating. From the Cordilleras in northern Luzon to the coastal areas of Basilan in Mindanao, we listen to the locals, hoping to find ways to ease their pain and suffering. Ako mismo, I allocate 2 or 3 days of every week to go to these poorest communities. Right after I assumed office, I met with my staff, most of whom are millennials. Napakababata ng aking staff. I told them it was deliberate that I chose very young people to work with because the office would benefit from their energy and creativity. Average age yata sa namin 26. But I know how idealistic they can become. And I warn them about the perils of working for the government, how thankless the job is, how vulnerable we are to criticisms and public dissatisfaction. So I told them that your egos have no place in government. Walang ego sa gobyerno. That we are not allowed any sense of entitlement. Sabi ko sa kanila, hindi pwede dito yung masyadong sensitive. Hindi pwede dito yung ang daming emosyon. Bawal dito may emosyon. Now that they are working very long hours, spending much time in far-off provinces, have ringside seats to how difficult life is for many of our countrymen, the running joke is, hindi sa atin sinabi, bawal din pala dito magka-love life. Dahil talagang halos walang oras para sa sarili. But the thing is, it is when the young people realize that the world is bigger than themselves. When they know that there are worse problems other than yung mga dating nanireklamo. Mahina yung speed ng internet, grabe yung traffic, kung ano-anong reklamo. When they are not defined by the difficulties they undergo or by the mistakes that they make along the way. Those are the times when they are able to speak truth to their souls. And in the process, they also find themselves. Because of this, they have been able to focus on the things that really matter and get the job done, even in this dark and difficult time. Siguro alam niyo naman, di ba? We are at the receiving end of so much viciousness. Kung ano-ano na lang. Pero yung staff ko, nung una lang naapektuhan. I talk to them, nung una naapektuhan sila na ang daming tumitira sa akin, sabi ko sa kanila, we only have 6 years. That's too short a time to make a difference. So, pagpapansinin natin yung lahat na yan, hindi na tayo makakatrabaho. So, huwag nang pansinin, magtrabaho na lang. And they've learned. One of the most memorable and meaningful work we are doing together in Angat Buhay is helping out the people of Agutaya. Hindi ko alam kung narinig nyo yung Agutaya. It is a small island municipality in northern Palawan. If you are familiar with Coron, to reach its shores, you have to take a torturous 10 to 12-hour boat ride from Coron. Nung una kaming pumunta, there was no electricity, and access to safe potable water is limited. Worse, there is no hospital or any modern health facility anywhere in the cluster of islands. The nearest doctor is in Coron, which, as I've said, is a 10 to 12-hour boat ride away. When we arrived, hindi namin nag-iiyakan yung mga tao. Hindi namin alam kung bakit sila umiiyak. But we were told they were actually tears of joy because they were rarely visited by national government officials. Bihirang-bihirang bisitahin. And they toured me around. While walking around, pinahilera nila yung mga bata sa mga, wala doon mga daan backwalk lang. Pinahilera yung mga bata. There was only one elementary school, and the only elementary school was dilapidated. Walang bubong. Ang sabi nila, nasira daw yung bubong ng Yolanda. Binibilang ko ng pumunta kami, sabi ko, di ba yung Yolanda? Almost 5 years ago. Almost 5 years na sira yung bubong ng paaralan. So the principal was introducing me, eto po yung kinder, grade 1, grade 2, and I noticed, pagdating ng grade 5, that the grade 5 students were almost as small as the grade 1 students. And one of the grade 5 students we met was Rev. Yun talaga yung pangalan niya, Rev. Ano ba picture si Rev ayan? Rev is a 5th grader who stood no taller than a regular 1st grader. The doctors who were with us explained that Rev and many other kids on the island were suffering from stunting, an irreversible condition after the age of 5. Stunting does not only harm physical growth, but also the mental faculties of the child. That means stunted children will have a harder time learning, and therefore a harder time getting a good job and being productive at work. Ito yung sinasabi sa atin, mahina yung ulo, bobo. Pero yung pala stunted. Kaya hindi gumagana masyado yung mental faculties. Bomb in our country today, with 3.6 million children in danger of languishing away, based on the most recent survey by the government. An international non-government organization, partner namin sila, called Save the Children, has identified the Philippines as one of the worst places in the world for children to grow up in, with half of, ito yung average, 95 daily child deaths caused by malnutrition. We believe that if we are unable to act on this, our country's future is very much in danger. Very few are talking about this problem, but it is in fact a national crisis that need to be at the forefront of our national discussion. All these are heavy and dark developments. Perhaps, bataan, kahit kayo, iisipin siguro, estudyante pa lang naman ako. Ano naman yung pwede kong magawa? Ano ba naman yung pwede kong itulong? But if we think about solving all of these problems in one go, we will never be able to begin. The problems of our country are too huge and too complicated for one person and one organization. But if we think about changing the people in our school, in our neighborhood, in our communities, in our town, in little doable steps, then together, through deeper collaboration, we can make a difference. Changing the world can start with one step and one person, and that would be you. Last year, our office started ang At Buhay Youth. Ito yung parang anak ni Anak Buhay.
Dito ka. Sa baba,
This is a program where we partner with youth organizations in addressing specific needs in various communities. One of the organizations we are partnering with is Youth for Mental Health Coalition, with its project, Sprout. Ang Sprout is short for Speak Out, Reach Out. This project aims to provide psychological and mental health interventions in conflict-afflicted, geographically isolated, and marginalized areas in the country. The first project that we had with them was to run in Marawi to help address the psychosocial needs of the evacuees in the area. This year, we are planning to organize 4 regional Angat Buhay Youth Summits in Luzon, Visayas, ARMM, and the rest of Mindanao. And we hope we can invite your school or your department to partner with us in these activities. Meron na po kami mga partnership with schools now. In fact, we're partnering with the nursing department of Universidad de Santa Isabel. And with them, we adopted 3 communities in Camarines, where I come from. We're also partnering with Assumption College in Makati. And we have programs with them, also in 3 or 4 communities, I think. Also with Xavier University in Cagayan de Oro. As students, I understand that it is easy to be confounded by our routines and responsibilities, that we forget the human aspect of the course that we are taking. That public health care is first and foremost about improving the human condition. It is about how compassion and empathy can cure apathy and neglect. It is not just about the conditions of our hospitals. It is about the health of our people. If we want social empowerment and real transformation to happen, then we need to start reaching out to the last, the least, and the lost. And we need to start now. As Mother Teresa would say, and I quote, "Life is not worth living unless it is lived for others." And in this moment of introspection, may we all decide to always seek to go beyond ourselves and live lives for others. Let us all continue to serve our people and be the light of empathy that our world needs in times like this. Thank you very much. Mabuhay po kayo.
Thank you very much, Vice President Lenny, for a truly inspiring talk on social transformation. Truly inspiring po. And may we request the Vice President, please, take center stage and maybe call on the members of the administration. Dr. Susan Maravilla, the Dean, to be assisted by Dr. Mark Anthony Abinier to award our certificate to our guest of honor and speaker this morning. We also request the overall chair of this advocacy forum to join us in awarding the certificate and token to our Vice President. So once again, the Pontifical Royal University of Santo Thomasian College of Nursing awards this certificate of recognition and appreciation to the Vice President of the Pontifical University and Leonor. Now may we request the members of the working committee to join us up stage for a photo opportunity with the Vice President. May we request the members of the working committee to please take this part of the stage. May we request it?
Okay na. Natatakpan pa. Natatakpan pa. Yan.
Members of the working committee. And we also call Dr. Michael Vernon of Duke University to join us.
We also have the student leaders to be on standby on that side of the stage. Calling all student leaders to be on standby on the left side of the stage for the photo op with our Vice President of the Philippines. go down stage at the center for our group shot.
Kami tumatayo.
May I request all to please rise for our group shot. The Vice President of the Philippines.